Brooklyn Mariners. Ottawa ranked 5th in the Independent League, Brooklyn 6th. Brian Smith was at the game. Tell us a bit about it, Smitty. It was a thrilling finish, I understand.
Dan, a tremendously exciting football game tonight at Lansdowne Park. The Ottawa Bootleggers beat the Brooklyn Kings 16-13 thanks to a 65-yard touchdown by the exciting Jamie Straw with about 10 seconds left in the game. Brooklyn got on the board first in the first quarter. Lorenzo Chambers, number 37, a former New Jersey General of the USFL, scored. And then another former pro, Warren Loving, number 45, he played with the Buffalo Bills, scored a touchdown in the second quarter. It was 13-0 for Brooklyn at the half. The Bootleggers got going in the third quarter. A former Suitor, Mike SHEARON, scored a touchdown, making it 13-7. And then the dramatics of Jamie Straw. Late in the game, he caught a 65-yard pass and run for a touchdown, which just brought the crowd to its feet here. 6,500 fans went crazy, along with the Bootleggers and, of course, Jamie Straw. Great concentration there. You tipped it up in the air and came down and you got it.
A little bit of luck in there, we'll take it.
Tell me about the play.
I was supposed to run a 10-yard out, but the corner went to the out, so I just took it out the field, and Rodney read it perfectly.
And just a perfect ending. The Bootleggers now 2-0 on the year. They play again on August the 5th against Baltimore. That is at Lansdowne Park. Montreal Expos.
And they play it tough. To get an idea of what the Bootleggers are all about, all you have to do is check out the tickets. On Saturday night, the enemy was the Brooklyn Kings, ranked 6th, one place behind the Bootleggers, who went to the finals in the Empire League in their inaugural season last year. This season, Ottawa is playing as an independent.
Deep curl, but you got to send your wide ups.
The team was formed by head coach Mike White and kicker Jeff Morris, both former university players, and operates on a budget of between $60,000 and $90,000.
We have a very flexible budget. You know, we don't spend a lot of money. We don't bring in a lot of money, but we're doing okay.
Revenue comes from sponsors and season tickets. They sold $1,000 to $30 each. It costs $5 at the gate. Kids get in free. And the Bootleggers are catching on. They had 6,500 at Lansdowne on Saturday night.
I think it's great. I think they blow the Riders right away.
American rules all the way. American rules. That's the way to do it.
That's great. We work with one of the fellows on the team.
And there's more than football at Bootleggers games, where the Grim Reaper patrols the sidelines. And the Legger girls lead the cheers.
A lot of these girls were fans last year of the Bootleggers, and we saw that even though it's a semi-pro team, they show a lot of enthusiasm and fun for football in Ottawa, and these girls wanted to get down on the field and help support this.
Nobody gets paid on the Bootleggers roster. They all played either college or junior ball. Like exciting receiver Jamie Straw, a former Sooner, they're in it for the fun.
That's it. It's all that ever is for any of us. None of us have ever really been paid except for a few, so it's love of the game.
Assistant coach Rick Silvietta played 116 games for the Rough Riders. Who better to ask about the caliber of this football?
You saw that last play with Jamie Straw. I could tell you that guy could play in the CFL. And we got some linebackers that could easily play in the CFL.
The play Silvietta was referring to was this dramatic last-second touchdown by Straw, which beat Brooklyn 16-13. We'll give the final word to Miss Ottawa Bootlegger, Pearl Fleming.
You gotta be a touchdown getter, you bet. If you wanna get a cutie to pet, the fact that you are tall and handsome won't get you anything in curls. You gotta be a football hero to get along with a beautiful girl.
And next home game for the Bootleggers, Saturday night against the Baltimore Bears. The more I see of the Bootleggers, the more convinced I become that the CFL should cut back the import quota and increase Canadian content with the emphasis on local players. That's what the CFL was intended to be in the first place. To be successful in the future, it has to get back to where fans know and relate to the players. Cut back to 6 or 8 Americans. Give the local guys a chance. The talent is available. It's the only way to go. I'm Brian Smith.
Already have the Rough Riders, the GGs, and the Ravens, but as our Breen Murray reports, the new guys on the block are offering something unique and different.
Football fans in Ottawa are turning out in large numbers to see something they haven't seen in a long, long time. That is a winning football team. These are the Bootleggers, and they play American rules football, yes, right down to the 4 down. The players are former collegians from Canada and the States, and CFLers as well, who simply still want to play the game of football.
Well, I got a job here in town that isn't playing football, so it's my only chance to get out and hang around with the fellas and run up and down the field and scream my head off and hit the odd guy now and then.
Yeah, I think everybody on the team feels that way. There's a couple guys that are shooting to get another shot, but yeah, it's a good time. Everybody enjoys it.
The Bootleggers were organized last year to play against only American semi-pro teams in the northeastern United States. They lost in the league final. But semi-pro football denotes money. However, with ticket prices of $5, nobody is going to make a living playing bootlegger football.
Nobody gets paid, and they don't get paid anything. So, I mean, they all just do it because they love to do it. I don't even get paid. I wish I could pay myself. Send money.
However, the 5,000 fans who show up at these Saturday night games at Lansdowne Park may come for reasons other than the football. For instance, at a recent home game, Elvis sang "O Canada," but some American fans stole the microphone to sing for their son.
Yeah, we have a great time. It's a winning season, like always with the Bootleggers, so we're ready for another win tonight.
Is this a lot of fun cheering for the Bootleggers?
Oh, definitely, because it's all home. It's all Ottawa talent, which is even better. We're from Ottawa, they're from Ottawa.
Who sat behind you?
Who sat behind me? This is Elvis. It's Elvis night. He comes alive tonight.
Elvis night tonight.
Provided by the Bootleggers at Lansdowne Park. They promise you more than just win.
On to Fuca from Polak, where the Riders play. The team playing the U.S. game is called the Bootleggers. Bruce Chicato has the story.
They're something more than weekend warriors, something less than hometown heroes. They're an all-Canadian team in an otherwise all-American league, playing in the nation's capital. These are the Bootleggers.
We're the only true Canadian team. We don't play in the CFL, but this is Canadian football.
They play in the American Minor Football League Alliance against teams from places like Brooklyn and Baltimore. They seem to appeal to that deep, dark Canadian fans' penchant for American rules, American-style football, and that universal penchant for teams who win more than lose, something the troubled professional Rough Riders can't do.
They get together and they have a bunch of good laughs. They play hard football when they're on the field. There's no comedy there.
Bootleg ball, as it's called, attracts over 6,000 to some games, partly with brash marketing like this promotion, Carol and Waldo Night, handing out nose pegs in honor of the world champion synchronized swimmer. Later this season, they will go so far as halftime shows of midget tag team wrestling. It's at least a change from the endless series of Rough Rider losses both on and off the field.
One of the things that we've got coming up is we're handing out kazoos so that the Ottawa football fans will be heard. And I'd say that's a little bit of a page out of the Bootleggers book.
On one. Ready? Go.
Bootleggers play just for expenses, no salary. Most are ex-college or junior stars. The quarterback's finishing a doctorate. The right tackle is an accountant. A few had brief, unhappy stints in the CFL.
When I quit playing football in the CFL, I just hated football. It was just a drudge day in, day out, treated poorly. You know, you come here, you get treated poorly, but so does everybody else, and a great bunch of guys.
The Bootleggers insist they have neither the intention nor the ability to put the more established Rough Riders out of business. Rather than establishing a beachhead for American football in Canada, they claim to be merely trying to breathe some life back into the moribund state of football here on the Rideau Canal. Bruce Chicato, CTV News, Ottawa.
Hats off to the Ottawa Bootleggers tonight. A lot of people, myself included, got turned off the boots a few weeks ago when their management pulled that sleazy move to get out of making a road trip to Baltimore. But that was a management decision. It had nothing to do with the players. Unfortunately, they were the ones to suffer as fan and media interest dropped off dramatically. Only about 1,500 watched the Boots defeat the Marlborough Shamrocks yesterday afternoon, and that's too bad, because despite bad weather conditions, it might have been the most entertaining game played at Lansdowne this year. If you haven't seen quarterback Rod Moores hook up with wide receiver Jamie Straw, then you're really missing something. Bootleggers play Brooklyn at Lansdowne Park this Saturday afternoon. If they win, they're in the final, and they really deserve our support. That's sports. I'm Brian Smith.
Great Bootleggers at Lansdowne Park. They promise you more than just winning football, and so far, they have delivered. Let's go to Lansdowne Park, or Death Valley Park, as the Boots like to call it, for the highlights. A season-high crowd of 8,518 to see Ottawa take on Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. The Bootleggers in black cap off their opening drive of the night with a touchdown. Mike SHEARON cuts back to the middle and goes in for the touchdown. It is 7-0. In the second quarter, they make it 14-zip. Chambersburg coughs up the ball. Number 4, Dan Murphy, scoops it up, and he will go in for the touchdown. Receiver Jamie Straw had another big night, 196 yards and receptions. He scores a 28-yard touchdown here to make it 21-0 Ottawa at the intermission. And at a Bootlegger game, the fun just never stops. Midget wrestling, the halftime entertainment. Farmer Pete in the overalls, the big winner, beating up on both Little John and a Little Wolf. Back to the game now, and the Boots rack up some more points in the second half. Jamie Straw with his second score of the night, making the final 37-6. Rod Moore, 17 for 35, 342 yards tonight. Ottawa's now 4-0 in the season. They play in New Jersey next weekend.
Grey Cup fever rages in Toronto this weekend. The Canadian football team has been quietly conquering an American league. The Ottawa Bootleggers are the only Canadian team in the semi-professional American Football League Alliance. They've been on an amazing winning streak. Nancy Rose has more in this report.
Canadian football teams may be in trouble, but not this one. Canadian teams are pulling in fewer and fewer fans, but not this one.
Sit! Hold!
It's the Ottawa Bootleggers, the only Canadian team in the Semi-Pro Football Alliance. These guys are getting ready to conquer the United States.
They say we're going to kick this Canadian team back over the border, and it's a lot of fun because before the game they're all razzing us, and you know, after the game they can't believe it. They're all shaking their heads, and you know, we're just laughing. A lot of guys like to wear little Canadian flags on their helmets and stuff just to rub it in a little bit, you know.
On this snow-covered field in Ottawa's Lansdowne Park, this team in green from Boston is about to enter what bootlegger fans call Death Valley. The Bootleggers have not been beaten all year. They're ranked #1.
A Canadian team kicking ass. That's what it is.
In the opening minutes, receiver Jamie Straw scampers 95 yards for a touchdown. He's a star with the Bootleggers, but he couldn't make the CFL's Ottawa Rough Riders 2 years ago.
There's a lot of guys in our team that the CFL could be using, but I guess there's 46 full-time coaches in the CFL, and if you want to do a story, find out how many are Canadian. It's a Canadian Football League, and they come up here, run our league, and they let us play in it.
The hometown boys play well. They sell well, too. On a day when it isn't snowing, the Bootleggers have been known to pull in almost 9,000 fans.
We have people that we know on the team. They're an Ottawa team, and we've been supporting them for 2 years now, and they're great.
How can it get any better? The CFL don't compare to minor football. It's all Canadian.
And the thing that makes the Bootleggers unique is it's all hometown boys. Fans like that. It's not like the CFL where they bring in Joe Blow from somewhere down in Texas, and then after the season gone, he's gone.
Here comes 6 more, Boston boys. Here comes 6 more.
He's right. The Boston boys have a bad day in Death Valley. The Bootleggers win the quarterfinal playoff game 30-19. So as the troubled CFL comes to its annual East-West Classic, Canadians can take heart. The American League Championships have come to Canada's capital, and a bunch of hometown boys could win it all. Nancy Rose, CBC News, Ottawa.
And the Bootleggers put another notch in their belts today. They beat the Brooklyn Mariners 42-14 in the semifinals of their league. They'll play the finals in Ottawa next week against Wisconsin.
As John Ruddle reports, the Bootleggers' great play on the field is matched by enthusiastic yet strange behavior by their fans.
To most people, a day like this is regarded as miserable. It is cold, snowing, and sitting for hours watching a football game makes these conditions harder to take. But as the Ottawa Bootleggers romp the visiting team from Brooklyn, New York, these fans aren't feeling the chill. Like the eccentric team of players on the field, these fans are a rare breed. 2,100 supporters have come out to watch what they call a tougher game of football.
What brings you out on such a cold day to watch the Bootleggers?
Ottawa spirit. We want a team to play ball, and we got a team here that plays ball versus the other one that doesn't. That's why I'm here.
No, we're still Rider fans. Oh yeah. I think we should replace them with the Bootleggers, though. I've cheered more today than I did all year.
There's a good reason for this team's peculiar popularity. Most of these guys are from Ottawa, and most of these fans are friends and family. If you don't believe these fans are weird, wait until you see them cheer on the snow removal equipment. Ask these people whether they would rather watch the Grey Cup in the climate-controlled Sky Dome, and they'd tell you it's not real football, and it's certainly not bootlegger football. Sean Ruddle, CJOH News.
Listen, senators told to stay home. Turn it over, and here it is. Bootleggers under heavy fire. And if you watched CJOH Sports last night, you would have seen the interview with Mike White of the Bootleggers talking about the latest controversy surrounding that team. Mike White will be one of our guests this morning. Last weekend, there was a football game between the Ottawa Bootleggers and the Brooklyn Mariners, and the final score was the Bootleggers 42, the Mariners 14. Brian Smith was at the game, and he had this report when it was all over.
2,173 fans braved sub-zero temperatures, and it didn't take long for the Boots to give them something to cheer about. A familiar combination, quarterback Rod Moores to wide receiver Jamie Straw for a 35-yard major, 7-0 early in the first quarter. A couple of turnovers led to the Brooklyn Mariners' first touchdown. On the 8th try from inside the 5-yard line, Frank Biamchini finally took it over at 7-all. Ottawa went ahead at 7:28 of the second quarter when Moores hooked up with wide receiver Steve Lalonde, 14-7 at the half. The Brutes broke it open in the third. Moores hit Straw for an 86-yard touchdown. Then ran it in himself from 35 yards out. All of a sudden, it's 28-7. Brooklyn cut that margin by 7 in the fourth quarter with a 14-yard major by Rich Visco, but it didn't matter because on the ensuing kickoff, Mike SHEARON went 85 yards for a touchdown, thanks to a great block by Jamie Straw, and that put the game out of reach. The final score, Ottawa 42, Brooklyn 14. The Bootleggers are in the final of the United States Minor League Football Alliance, and they'll play Racine, Wisconsin here at Lansdowne Park next weekend. From Lansdowne, Brian Smith, CJOH Sports.
So much. We'll be right back. Don't run away.
This weekend at Lansdowne Park. Charges that the Boots used industrial staples in their shoes in last Saturday's win over Brooklyn were dropped today. The league's commissioner says the final game will be played in Ottawa, likely Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock. And now the Bootleggers and the other finalists, Racine, Wisconsin, are negotiating on the details. Host one either. It will cost the Bootleggers between $15,000 and $18,000 to stage the U.S. Minor League Football Alliance final. They'll play Racine, Wisconsin at Lansdowne Park Saturday afternoon. The Bootleggers play football for fun. There's no money to be made, and the same is true for the coaching staff. Until a month ago, the offensive line was the responsibility of Alex Saunders. It still is, but now he has additional responsibilities.
And I'm not sure about the tickets going to
The 61-year-old Saunders, a retired military and public servant, assumed the general manager's duties after a crisis in late October, and now it's almost a full-time job.
It's a little bit like mopping up the floor with the tap running, in a sense. The phone rings all the time. There's decisions to be made, and nobody to talk to about them, so you do the best thing, and common sense has to prevail.
There's hotel rooms to be booked and tickets to be sold and press releases to be written and a myriad of other things for Saunders to worry about, but his biggest concern is the shape of the field here at Lansdowne Park on Saturday afternoon. And Lansdowne Park officials are doing their best to make it playable.
This ice here surface here, this is what we're confronted with. We're trying to get rid of it. By backloading with the loader, we're crystallizing the snow and makes it a couple more back drag, and it comes out to the surface.
Any chemicals you use or anything to get the ice off?
Well, we've got a fertilizer that will supposedly melt the ice without damaging the turf itself.
Meanwhile, it's just another thing for Alex Saunders to worry about. A member of the Ottawa Rough Riders in 1949, Saunders sees a similarity between the players of his era and the Bootleggers of today.
Improbable mix of people as far as how they make their living, and that's how they were in 1949 when I played. And these guys, I guess they're a throwback. They're a Jekyll and Hyde mix, and they're a fun bunch and great people to work with.
1 o'clock, a bunch of hometown boys will try to beat the Americans at their own game. The Ottawa Bootleggers will play for the championship of the Amateur Football League Alliance. Every other team in the league is American. The Ottawa Bootleggers will play for the championship, and the players don't do it for money. So why do they play, and why do they win? Nancy Rose tried to find out.
It's not quite the coldest night of the year, but it's definitely the slipperiest. Despite the ice, the Ottawa Bootleggers are doing their very best to chase football history.
High, strong right, 126 on 2 on 2. Ready?
So who are these guys who could become the first Canadian team ever to win an American football championship? When center Tim Saunders isn't crunching bones on the offensive line, he's crunching numbers at Coopers and Lybrand.
I thought he wanted me to be the treasurer because I'm an accountant. But he said, no, Tim, I want you to play. I want you to, do the long snaps and see what happens. I wasn't too crazy about it at first, and I went out, and the next thing you know, they said, well, you might as well learn a few plays while you're here. And next thing you know, I was starting a couple of games.
Yes, folks, strip away the helmet and the pads, and you'll find an accountant underneath.
There's a certain confidence level that you have when you're part of a winning team, and you have an attitude that things are always going to work out somehow, that you'll find a way, or that if things are down, that you're going to come out on top. So I guess it does come out into the office and into your lifestyle.
We are saying that the bus.
That's a tough one. Segregation.
At St. Mark's in Manotick, Paul Brown has his own team of bootleggers in the making. He's a teacher, and a school trustee, and a linebacker.
You have to work yourself mentally, and you have to work yourself spiritually and also physically. And playing for the Bootleggers is the physical component. It's a great release, and it's good to get out with the guys.
Finally, here's a guy who comes a little closer to the image. Linebacker Mike Morris manages the fitness store, and this week he hopes to celebrate both a championship and the birth of his first child. What happens if the baby comes on Saturday?
That's a loaded question. I'm not sure. It all depends on how far my wife's along in the labor.
Sorry, dear, you'll have to hold it up.
Exactly. Yeah. Just hold off. She'll do it for me. She's a good woman.
And this is the last time we're all going to be together for a game. This is it. There's no more chances. It's all come down to one game.
The Bootleggers are stockbrokers, Green Hornets, mechanics, surveyors, geophysicists, and accountants. And somehow, they've all come together to form Ottawa's most successful team.
We're not just playing for Ottawa, it's for Canada. The only Canadian team in history to ever beat the Americans at supposedly their own game.
Does that mean something to you?
It means everything to me.
When we're in the huddle there and the team's threatening to score, all the eyes are looking at each other, and everyone believes, okay, well, I'm just going to do my job, and the next person will do his, and we'll collectively stop them. And to date, we've been very successful.
Nancy Rose, CBC News, with Brown's Bootleggers in Manotick.
Bootleggers #1! Go, Mr. Brown!
They're trying to put the boots to the boots. There's never a dull moment with bootlegger football, and now they're in the battle with the commissioner of the U.S. Minor League Football Alliance over the right to host the championship game at Lansdowne this weekend. The controversy was started by the Brooklyn Mariners, who were beaten 42-14 by the Bootleggers in the semifinal at icy Lansdowne Park Saturday afternoon. Brooklyn has protested the game, claiming the Bootleggers used industrial staples in their shoes, giving them an unfair advantage. The Boots admit they tried the staples in the warm-up, but claim they disregarded them because they were too uncomfortable. They claim they're victims of a conspiracy.
Definitely is more to it. Racine, who is the defending national champ, that's where the commissioner's from, he's under incredible political pressure to have the national championship back in Racine. They just can't handle us going to the dance and leaving with their girl. And we've earned the right to be at home, and as far as I'm concerned, we're going to be at home. The whole thing is just a big non-issue. If it wasn't this, it'd be something else. It was a farce. During the game, we were the ones who were checking in their shoes. They had some people with track spikes on, and they changed them at halftime because they knew we were onto them. If we had stuff in the bottom of our shoes, I really don't think we'd be going to the referees asking to check the shoes.
Football in Canada this season. We've got a championship game of our own in Ottawa thanks to the Bootleggers. Now, last Saturday afternoon at Lansdowne Park, the Bootleggers beat the Brooklyn Mariners 42-14 in the sudden death semifinal. The Bootleggers are truly #1. They have a record of 12 wins and no losses. They now advance to the final against Racine, Wisconsin. That game will be played on the weekend, but it may not be in Ottawa. Now, the Bootleggers earned the right to play the championship here, but that doesn't sit well with the team from Wisconsin. And Mike White, the coach of the Ottawa Bootleggers, is standing by to explain what is going on right now. Mike, what's happening? What's Racine coming up with? And what can they really have to prove that they shouldn't play the game in Ottawa this weekend?
It sort of goes back to when you're in grade 4, whoever owned the ball said, unless I'm the quarterback, well, we're not going to play. They're going on the assumption that they're the defending national champions. They have questions about the weather conditions, the field markings, you name it. They didn't think that it would be us and them. They thought it was going to be Brooklyn and them. We really did a job on Brooklyn. We beat them 42-14 in Brooklyn earlier in the year, beat Racine 10-0. I think we shocked everyone except ourselves. And now Racine is, immediately after the game, they had 3 of their coaches here, and they started talking about, oh, the game's got to be in Racine. It's juvenile, it's childish, and the fact of the matter is the commissioner of the association...
Okay, you're getting to the... I was going to ask you about that. You know, if the team says we don't want to play, but they have no say in this, it has to come from the league, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, the thing is, to complicate matters, the Brooklyn team, who we destroyed, they're claiming that we used staples on their shoes. The only way they heard about that...
Did you use staples?
Well, we tried them out in the pregame warm-up. They didn't work. As a matter of fact, they went right through the soles of some guy's shoes and gave him sort of a hot foot. So they weren't an issue during the game. We didn't use them during the game.
When are you going to find out whether that game will be played in Ottawa this Saturday?
Hopefully in the next 24 hours. The thing is, you know, Brooklyn lodging a protest. They would love to have the game declared a forfeit and them to play Racine,
but you're not going to back out of this game, are you?
No bloody way.
Okay, if it's not in Ottawa, where will it be played?
I don't care. If it's on the surface of the moon, we'll play it. We're going to beat these guys no matter where we play. We're a better team, and we're not going to be denied. They're scared. You should have seen their faces after the game. They were in shock. They'd never seen a defensive exhibition like ours, and if Brooklyn wants to claim staples or whatever. Bottom line is we played smarter. When we kicked off to them, we kicked to the corner of the field into the ice. They kicked off to us, it was down the middle. We just ran it right back up their throats down the middle where there was some traction.
Mike, maybe it doesn't help being the only Canadian team in that American League.
Well, I'm sure.
A little jealousy, do you think?
Oh, a lot of jealousy. They can't handle it.
Okay, Mike.
Dig out your warmest clothes and get out and cheer the Ottawa Bootleggers on. They're playing Racine, Wisconsin for the U.S. Minor Football Alliance title. The Bootleggers aren't from California, Idaho, or Tennessee. They're Canadian. They're local guys from this area, from Ottawa, Gloucester, Nepean, and Canada. There's probably one living down your street or in the same building. They don't make any money from football. They play for fun, and they do it well. 12 wins, no losses so far this year. It's costing the Bootleggers around $20,000 to hold the final here. They need and they deserve our support. I'm Brian Smith.
As prevalent as shoulder pads at Lansdowne today, Suhanna. The local football season came to an end this snowy Saturday at Lansdowne Park. The Ottawa Bootleggers hosted the Racine, Wisconsin Raiders for the North American Minor Football Alliance Championship. Dan Sagan has the details.
The Bootleggers always boast of being tough, but there's no one tougher than the estimated crowd of 6,000 who braved absolutely frigid conditions to watch this ball game. Now, to make matters even worse, they had to wait half an hour for the game to get going, Racine refusing to play till the Bootleggers put their expense money in the bank. How's that for trust? Now, the field was covered with snow and ice, still a familiar combination hooks up for the first score of the day. Rod Morris to Jamie Straw. He gets in behind the secondary and goes 62 yards for the touchdown. It's 7-0. The Raiders came into this matchup with a 12-1 one-loss record, and here's why. Running back Les White breaking through for an 80-yard run. He makes it into the end zone, but the cover is blocked. The Boots still lead at 7-6. It stayed that way till the final minute of the half. Racine moving out front on a 35-yard field goal by Steve Saunert. They led at 9-7 at the intermission. Late in the third quarter, Ottawa bounces back. After a fumble recovery, Mark Brown gets it in from the 2. They miss the extra point, but lead 13-9. Early in the fourth, the Raiders regained the lead for good. Quarterback Charlie Bliss connecting with number 81, Ron Doherty, for a 65-yard touchdown. Once again, the convert is missed, making it 15-13. Now, the Bootleggers had several chances to move the ball back downfield, but up against a gale-like wind, the going was just a bit too tough, and the Raiders hold on for the 2-point win. 15-13, the final score.
Ron, your touchdown made the difference. Explain the play to me. It was very similar to one earlier in the game.
It was very similar to it. We noticed that they were playing a lot of double zone coverage, and they were leaving the middle open. So you kind of squeeze inside behind the linebackers. There's a seam there. And luckily, everybody else cleared out, did their jobs, and the field was open.
Give me your reaction to winning.
I'm going to Disneyland.
They overall have a class organization, and they came up here, played a fine football game, and we lost to a very good team. That's all there is to it. I think they did a good job when they were against the wind of eating up the clock, so we didn't get to use the wind. And then when they did have the wind, they made the most of it. So overall, a very good, solid football team. You got to hand it number 11. The quarterback did a very good job, and number 81 played a very good game for them too. So overall, hey, they're a good, solid team. You got to take your hat off to them.
For relief, many of them threw their support behind a local team of little-known North American Football League. Today, fans braved minus 25-degree temperatures to see the Ottawa Bootleggers take on their American rival for the championship. Chris Goldrick reports.
These guys don't get paid for this. Some are ex-pros who couldn't quite make it. Others are kids who wanted somewhere to play after college. They play for fun, and this season has been a lot of fun. Just 2 years after joining the North American Minor Football League Alliance, the Ottawa Bootleggers beat every one of their American opponents and finished first in their division.
We're number one. We're going to kick these guys' butts. That's it. That's all. Game over.
Today, the Leggers, as their fans call them, faced their biggest test. They played the defending champs, Wisconsin Racine Raiders, for the North American Championship. Not only were the conditions terrible, but the turf looked more like an ice rink than a football field. The wind was howling, but a little weather doesn't bother bootlegger faithful. These are special fans.
It's about minus 25 degrees with the wind chill factor. It's snowing like crazy, and we've got about 6,000 fans up there. They've got to be nuts.
They insist they're not crazy. They're just incredibly loyal. Many of them say they're fed up with the Canadian Football League's Ottawa Rough Riders, who once again had a losing season. Everyone loves a winner.
It's freezing, but it's beautiful. Unreal. Too much.
The atmosphere is unbelievable. You couldn't ask for a better atmosphere. This is what football is all about.
They're the best fans in the world, yeah!
The Bootlegger fans may be the best, but today their team wasn't. The Bootleggers led for a large part of the game, but ended up losing 15-13.
We could have done it, we didn't. My hat's off to Racine. They played a heck of a football game.
Even though the team lost this game, one thing they'll probably never lose are some of the most faithful fans in Ottawa. They say next year, the Cup will come to Canada. Chris Goldrick, CBC News, Ottawa.
True Canadian fans.
Down Park for 3.5 hours, despite the worst weather conditions in memory. I couldn't believe it. The temperature was minus 15, but with the wind chill factor, it had to be more like 40 below. Yet there they were, cheering the Bootleggers on, making more noise than most crowds twice that size. I think it says something about the way the Bootleggers play, and it says even more about the kind of people we have in this community. They knew the Boots, a bunch of local guys, needed and deserved our support. If you were there Saturday and have thawed out enough, then take a bow, because you certainly deserved it. I'm Brian Smith.